Hey Collective, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day today. So today we're going to discuss the art of war. There comes a moment in every life when the air grows tense and words, like arrows, begin to fly. In those moments, it is not always truth that speaks the loudest, but pride. It is not always wisdom that wins, but the voice that refuses to yield. But in the midst of the chaos, there is a power so deep, so still, it can quiet the thunder, and it lives in all of us. I have learned you don't have to match every raised voice with one of your own. You don't have to let your peace be stolen by someone else's roar. When shit gets heated and the ground trembles with ego, breathe. Be still. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your stillness carry weight. Sometimes the most powerful words are the ones never spoken. You're not made to be dragged into every fire or to start it. When someone comes with harshness, meet them with calm. When they come with noise, meet them with reason. You can hold your dignity without crushing theirs. You can speak the truth without raising your voice. And you can walk away from chaos without running from the moment. There is no strength in shouting to be heard. There is no honor in proving a point that wounds another. So when the world calls you into battle with words, choose your ground carefully. Stand on the soil of kindness. Let the shade of wisdom cool you down, and plant your feet in patience. Remember, it is not weakness to step back, it is strength. It is not foolish to choose peace, it is power. Those who control their words control their world. And those who guard their tone guard their future. These two lessons took me a long time to learn. When you master your reaction, you don't only change the moment, you change your life. There is a sacred strength in the ability to stay calm when emotions rise. The world may push you, provoke you, and prod at your patience, but the moment you refuse to be moved by chaos, you claim your power. Arguments are not battles to win. They are mirrors that reveal what lies deep within us. And when that mirror reflects peace instead of fury, that is where transformation begins. It is easy to raise your voice, especially if you're an Aries, a Taurus, Virgo, Leo, Scorpio, or Sagittarius. It is natural to feel heat in your chest when you are misunderstood or falsely accused. But your true strength is not measured in volume, it's measured in your stillness. When the air gets heavy and tempers flare with unspoken wounds, many people speak just to be heard. But if you can stay calm, stay rooted in the middle of emotional noise, I applaud you, because that is a rare kind of wisdom. It is not silence in weakness, it is silence in power. Because when you do not react, you choose, and in that choice, you hold the key to peace. You don't have to match chaos with chaos. You don't have to raise your tone just because someone else has forgotten theirs. People often mirror the energy they receive. I know. I used to be people. But when you offer calm, you invite calm in return. This isn't about suppressing your truth or swallowing your voice. This is about knowing the right time and the right way to let your truth be heard. It's also simply about maturing, growing up. When you speak from peace, people listen. When you speak from fury, people resist. So friends, when the argument pulls at you, ask yourself, What do I want to leave behind? A trail of broken words or a legacy of grace? We were not created to explode every time we feel hurt. We were given minds to reason, hearts to feel, and souls to pause. That pause is where wisdom lives. The calm response is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of maturity. Anyone can lose control, but the one who stays centered, even when the other person shakes your ground, is the one who owns the moment. You can be the still water in the storm. Sometimes in arguments, people are not looking for truth. They are looking for validation of their pain. If you listen carefully, not just to words, but to wounds, you will see calmness becomes healing. You don't have to agree to be kind, and you don't have to fight to be right. You can stand in your truth without swinging it like a sword. Calmness is not a strategy. It is a way of life. I have seen what happens when people argue with fire in their souls. No one wins. The louder it gets, the more hearts shut down. Instead, let your presence disarm the tension. Let your tone be the one that brings the temperature down. You don't have to prove anything in that moment. You already prove something when you stay composed. That is your real statement. This calmness, this quiet strength, does not mean you do not feel. It means you're choosing what kind of energy you want to live in. You have the right to protect your peace. Even in the middle of a disagreement, you have the right to say, let's revisit this when we both can hear each other. That is not escaping. That is wisdom in motion. Your peace is not for sale, and your reaction is your responsibility. So the next time you feel anger rising, take one breath deeper. Give your mind 1 second more than your pride. Remind yourself that your calm is not surrender. It is command. You are not losing by staying silent. You are winning by choosing how to speak. That is how you control any argument. You master the storm by mastering your stillness. And when others expect fire but meet peace, you've already changed the outcome. Listening is an art that too few have mastered, especially in the heat of an argument. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply, to defend, to win. And in doing so, they lose something far greater than the argument. They lose connection. They lose the chance to learn, to grow, and to truly be present with another soul. But when you learn to listen, to understand, everything changes. The tone shifts, the energy calms, and the war of words turns into a bridge of awareness. When you are locked in a disagreement, your first instinct might be to speak up, to correct, to defend your ground. But what if you resisted that impulse? What if, instead of rushing to respond, you opened yourself to truly hear what the other person is trying to say, beneath the noise? Often, arguments are not about the surface issue. They're about unspoken pain, unmet expectations, or fears left unheard for far too long. If you listen closely, not just with your ears, but with your heart, you will begin to see most people just want to be seen, not silenced. Understanding does not mean you agree. It simply means you respect the other person enough to make space for their voice. It means you're choosing empathy over ego. When someone feels truly heard, their defenses lower, their words soften, and in that moment, your willingness to listen becomes a healing force. You can't change how someone feels, but you can change how safe they feel expressing it. And that, in many cases, changes everything. Listening with intention requires presence. It means putting aside the desire to be right and focusing instead on being real. When you're fully present in a conversation, even a hard one, you give something rare. You give dignity. You give space. You give understanding without judgment. And when you do that, you disarm the tension without ever raising your voice. You turn the argument into a moment of insight rather than injury. Think back to the last time you truly felt heard. Not interrupted, not corrected, just understood. That feeling, it's powerful, isn't it? It quiets the heart. It brings clarity. It gives you space to breathe and reflect. Now, imagine offering that same gift to someone else. I've always been on the giving end of this gift, and never the receiving, sadly. Giving that gift to someone during an argument may not solve everything, but you will build trust, and you'll plant a seed of mutual respect that can grow stronger with time. So the next time you find yourself in a disagreement, lean in instead of pushing back. Ask questions that invite clarity. Say, "Help me understand what you mean," or "I hear that this matters deeply to you, and I want to know more." This is not weakness. This is a sign of emotional intelligence, which many people lack these days, even grown-ass adults. These types of questions show that you value the relationship more than the win. And often, that alone is enough to turn confrontation into collaboration. It takes discipline to hold your tongue. It takes courage to stay open when you feel hurt or challenged. But you're not just a product of your emotions. You're the master of them. Your ability to listen to understand is proof of that mastery. It is the stillness behind your calm. It is the reason your presence carries weight without raising volume. It is how you remain centered when others want to pull you into chaos. What I have learned is, in every argument, there is a choice. You can listen to gather ammunition, or you can listen to gather wisdom. The first will keep the fire burning. The second will lead you to peace. And when peace becomes your purpose, the argument no longer controls you. Now, understanding doesn't end the argument every time, but it always ends the need for shouting. And that is where the real victory lies. When you listen not just to respond, but to receive the truth behind the words, you show strength that cannot be shaken. You show that your goal is not to overpower, but to uplift, to bridge the gap, and to move forward with respect. That is how everyone grows. There is a sacred difference between reacting and responding, and learning to respond with intention rather than impulse is one of the most powerful ways to control any argument. When we react without thought, we hand over our peace to the moment. But when we respond with care, we reclaim our authority. Arguments often thrive in the space where impulse reigns, where words are hurled before hearts are heard. So remember, you are the guardian of your emotions. You are the guardian of your voice, and every word you speak holds weight. To respond with intention is to pause, to breathe, to feel, and then choose. It is to allow yourself that moment of stillness between the sting of someone's words and the sound of your own. That moment may seem small, but it holds the power to change everything. Because in that pause, you ask yourself, not what do I feel right now, but what do I want this moment to become? Do you want it to become a volcano spitting fire, or do you want it to become calm waters. Do you want to burn bridges, or do you want to build them? When you respond with intention, you're not suppressing your emotions. You're honoring them in a wiser way. You're telling yourself that while anger may visit, it doesn't have to take control. You're saying, yes, I feel hurt, but I will not let that hurt define how I treat others. There is dignity in that choice. There is wisdom in that self-restraint. And there is freedom in knowing that you're not bound to your first reaction. It is easy to lash out. It is human to want to defend your pride or protect your truth. But I have learned sometimes the best defense is not louder words. It is calmer energy. And your tone can de-escalate a fight faster than facts. Your choice of words can either close a door or open a path. Every argument offers you a mirror, and the way you respond shows not only who they are, but who you are and how much you don't like it. You're not created to fight every battle. You were created to rise above some of it. And rising above does not mean walking away every time. It means showing up with clarity, not confusion. With direction, not desperation. When you speak with intention, you speak with purpose. You know why you are speaking, what your heart wants to communicate, and what kind of outcome you're aiming for. This is not manipulation. It's maturity. It is the strength to respond in a way that serves healing instead of harm. Arguments can become endless when both people are reacting. It becomes a volley of defense, accusation, interruption, and just noise. But when one person decides to respond with calm clarity, the storm begins to pass. That person can be you. And remember this about your connections. A giver and a taker is neurotic. A taker and a taker is psychotic. But a giver and a giver is exotic. If who you're with doesn't make you better, if all you do is fuss and fight, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? The math will never math. We need to save our breath and recognize this truth early on. But even a giver and a giver will have disagreements from time to time. You can still be the one who chooses the right word over the fast one. You can be the one who waits just long enough to say what needs to be said, not what your emotions beg you to say in that moment. And when you do, you shift the entire rhythm of the conversation. You no longer argue just to win. You listen to build. You speak to be understood. And even if the other person does not follow your lead, you've already elevated the space with your presence. That is the unseen victory of intentional response. It changes you from within. Let your response carry your values. Let it reflect your growth. Even when the other person forgets their grace, you don't have to forget yours. You can respond in a way you will not regret. You can walk away from the conversation knowing you remain true to yourself. This is how you move from emotional chaos to emotional clarity. Remember, the goal isn't to overpower the other person. It is learning to master yourself so you can walk away not only in peace, but in your own power. When tension builds and emotions rise, the first thing to leave the room is often patience. But the quiet power lies in your ability to pause before reacting. That 1 second, that one deep breath, that one moment where you choose to wait rather than lash out. This pause is where your real strength shows. Not in how fast you defend yourself, but but in how wisely you choose your next move. We live in a world that moves fast. Opinions are thrown like stones. Words are fired without thought. And people feel pressured to respond instantly, to clap back before they even understand what was said. But giving yourself space before reacting does something radical. You take back control. You silence the storm long enough to hear your own wisdom and rise above the noise. Those few seconds give you the opportunity to choose peace instead of panic. Arguments thrive on speed. The faster the words, the hotter the exchange. But peace thrives on stillness. The more time you give yourself to reflect, the more likely you are to speak with purpose. The truth does not fear time, and your dignity doesn't depend on how quickly you react. It depends on how thoughtfully you respond. That pause is discipline. It is not a retreat, it is a return to yourself. The pause gives you time to ask yourself, what is really happening here? Is this about truth, or is it about ego? Is this about solving something, or is it just about being heard? These questions will help you rise above the surface level storm and touch the deeper waters of understanding. You stop reacting from wounded pride and begin responding from inner clarity. So friends, that pause before reacting is your sanctuary. It is where you remember who you are and what kind of energy you want to carry forward. It is the invisible space where you protect your peace, your grace, and your dignity. So pause, breathe, and let your calm inspire theirs, because what you say in anger may echo longer than you intended. And remember this, that pause, that moment of stillness, is your crown. That silence before the storm is your shield. And with it, you walk through conflict not as a fighter, but as a master of your own emotions and your own soul. Until next time, friends, keep healing. See ya.